everyone to another BasePac Digitizing tutorial. I am Britta from ZSK and I will explain the fill stitch to you today. Have a look at the other videos. I already explained the running stitch and set-in stitch and some other things. Maybe you find them helpful too, because now I will skip a few things that we already discussed in earlier chapters. For example, I already assigned my needles here, so I will start with the yellow part, the green. I loaded my little paint drawing here as a base work, and I have here in my design head, I gave my design a number and I gave my design a name. So the idea is that if I say file save, that I here have automatically number and name in my design. I can also search after this, so I can place them anywhere freely in my Explorer and being able to search after number or after the name. Right, let's have a look at some examples first. Here you can see a simple example. So this white background here of this area and the center of the flower, these are all simple fill stitches. Also here, this is a fill stitch going with the running line up and down, but following a curvy shape. Or here you have several areas with color shading. You can also use this program for some wiring here, depending on how you set the parameters, or some cording, some hand stitch imitation, all sorts of possibilities. We will concentrate on the simple version and I will just show you a few tricks. Let's start with a simple shape first. I do my fixing stitches again, and now I select my program here for auto contour. This is the fill stitch program. Now it depends how you set it up. In my case, I can freely choose and it will automatically find the way. So I will start drawing it now, let's say here, and I'll make, let's say, simple shape. I will automatically close. Now I need a stitch direction. So here I have my wavy stitch direction. This is part of the professional program, or here straight stitch direction would be in the premium package of the BasePac. I will start with a simple line, so click, click, and this means my stitches will later follow that direction. I pick my endpoint I want to have here at the end, and I have my parameters here. I leave them all for now. It is now set to complex fill, which is correct. Now let me have a look at the parameters. I will switch off the underlay so that we can have a look at some other aspect of it. You can see here our contour type is this one. That means that my lines are parallel and in the last moment it jumps to the next line. And here is my filling. This is on rhythmic. If you see here, it says rhythm 3. So this means that every 1, 2, 3, third line has the stitch in the same line, let's say. So I would now change to 5. Now you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every fifth line has the stitch in the same direction. If I zoom out, you would be able to see a different structure. So then we can also say irregular, for example, gives it a full different effect. If you do a standard fill stitch, better use rhythmic and here rhythm 3. Okay, this is our stitch length, 4 millimeters. So each of these stitches, tuck, tuck, are 4 millimeters. Another parameter here is the distance. So right now the distance is 4.2. I make this now to, let's say, 3.8. Calculation, and we have more stitches, it's more dense. Also, if you go to parameters, we can activate a fill underlay and a running underlay to stabilize the fabric before. And this will be a standard tatami stitch you would fill an area with. If you want some further explanation on the different parameters and what they mean and how you set them, also have a look at the other videos. There's one about the main parameters to consider when you want to make a new design. Then, if you would like to save your settings for the rest of your digitizing life or for the next designs, you can save your settings. Here under stitch type, there are groups and descriptions. So you see here, for example, in your main toolbar, it's now on set to complex fill. And if I go to save settings, you have here the possibility to give it a new name. I like my settings. I will overwrite what I have now and I will say save. Yes, I want to overwrite. Okay. So whenever you start a new design, you just simply call this complex fill here from the box, and it will automatically change the settings to what we saved here and now. Okay, let's change back to our example. I faded out the colors a bit now, didn't finalize it yet, but I'm okay for now. So I'm on needle number 1, my insertion is active, and I will start with my fixing stitches. Now it depends on your settings. I do my last stitch right where I will start with the shape. I pick my program, and now it's attached automatically to the first stitch. You can also change the setting if you prefer to pick it yourself. If you go to settings, standard settings, enter free curve beginning in auto contour. Now even if I have my last stitch here and I press now my auto contour, I'm not attached to the last stitch. I can now freely decide where I want to start drawing. I will do my first shape. Okay, it will automatically close. Now I do a curvy stitch direction, or wavy. Select. I want the stitches to follow this direction. Okay, and I want the second one in the inside. So I press this again, and I follow the shape. And I select my endpoint. I put my endpoint here, and I press my pocket calculator. Put this to maybe 8. I want it quite open. Okay. If I now press F12, switch off the picture, you can see that the stitches follow the direction of this green line. Right, okay. Enter if you're happy with it. Picture back on with F12. And my last stitch is now here. This one will be done in the same color. So what do? I use a running stitch to walk down here. Enter, and I can directly start with my next shape. So I work color after color. Normally you start with the big areas first to not have too much pulling. You have to run this on the machine and see. Okay, stitch direction, new one. If I press W on my keyboard, same like clicking here, you see endpoint and calculation. Running stitch. From here to here, I think that's meant to be the same color. Auto contour again. With your Alt key, you can move your workspace. Okay, again, stitch direction. Endpoint I put here. Endpoint, calculation, okay. Right, so once you went through the entire design, you might see something like, went needle by needle and filled all the areas with a fill stitch. What I now did in the next step was I already assigned colors to the needle. So I went here to the design head. Maybe check the former videos there, it's all explained more in detail. And what I now want to do before I put it on the machine, with F12, I just quickly switch off the JPEG behind. You see that it's just a simple step line here. You see the different stitches. I now want to apply a macro here. What is a macro? I would go to maybe one single object first so you can better see. If I select this one, I have the possibility here to enter a stitch macro. So maybe I want to fill it with some sort of a bean stitch. Bean stitch is basically forward, backward, forward. So I want to put in a bit thicker line, or I will later show you some other examples. I, for example, want to use this bean stitch here, and this is between 2.6 and 3 millimeter. I find this a bit short, so I make the stitches longer. This here is a bit narrow between each other, 0.1 millimeter. I want it quite open. I want to give it space to breathe, so maybe, yeah, so I make this, let's say 1000. Okay, and then here I have my bean stitch. I'll do this with all of them here via my block mode. And it will be done in all of them. Actually, you can use this macro for quite some nice effects. Here you see some examples. So I did this with some cotton thread and did some stitch repetition variations. Also have a look at the other videos. There is one about how you actually make your own macros. Now we'll make it ready for the machine. And let's have a look what it turns out. So here you can see the first result. Of course, this is only a simple application of this Itami stitch. We use it really for kind of different effects. So if you check embroidery designs in the future, a lot of them are just variations of the step fill program. If you want some more ideas on the macros or on stencil function or any other way color shading can be done with this program, have a look at the other videos and play around a bit with the parameters. There are a lot of things to discover. And with that, I wish you a lot of fun and I speak to you next time. Thank you very much and bye bye.